Good morning, everyone. It's July 3rd, 2025, and you know what that means. We're about to start the 4th of July weekend, and we all know what 4th of July means other than fireworks. And what the most important thing is that it's Independence Day. It's the day that we declared our independence from England. And I won't bore you with all the historical details about that, except for one thing. I did go to Boston last month, or excuse me, in May, and see where they actually read it the first time out in Boston, which was pretty cool. But I won't bore you all that. This is about the 4th of July weekend and what you're really going to do. And you're going to do a lot of drinking, and everybody knows that. And I just wanted to give everybody some advice about that and what happens. And we all should know at this point, if you're over at least 25, I think we all know that law enforcement is out in force this weekend. You're going to see them everywhere, and they get extra funding for that, and they're going to, which extra funding means they need to generate some numbers. You don't want one of those numbers to be you. So if you're out drinking tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday or today or whatever, you need to call an Uber, because you're going to get caught. They're out there in force. I mean, this is not your first White Claw. Trust me, you know how to drink. Don't get behind the wheel. You're not going to convince them that you only had two. And every police report that I get from every person that I represent, it'll say the person said they had two drinks. I don't know where that. I think we all just tend to say that we had two drinks. You're not tricking the officer. They're going to smell it on you. They're going to see that you swerved a little bit. You did something that's going to give them probable cause, and you're not going to be able to beat that. And you're going to get pulled over, and you're going to get a DUI. And so my first thing is call the Uber. Do not drink and drive. That's what you need to do. But if you do get caught this weekend, if you are an amateur and you get caught on a holiday weekend, because that's kind of what you are, you're an amateur if you get caught on a holiday weekend drinking, you need to know some things. First, when you get pulled over, they're going to offer you a field sobriety test. And once you take that, they're also going to offer you a breath test at the station once they arrest you. And that's going to be called the intoxilizer. When you take that test, they're going to give you a chance to refuse it. Now, if you refuse that, you get what's called an automatic 90-day administrative suspension. And I have a lot of clients that come to me and they don't understand this. They're like, well, I wasn't even convicted yet. I'm already getting the suspension. That's in the law. You have to take the test. If you don't take it, you can refuse it. You have the right to refuse it. But if you do, you're going to get that 90-day suspension. Now, you can contest that civilly, and it's a breath test refusal suit that you can file. It's difficult to beat. Sometimes you can, but generally you're going to get that 90-day suspension if you don't take the breath test. So just know that. Now, I know a lot of the conventional wisdom has always been don't take the breath test. Don't blow. If you're old enough, like 46, like me, and you remember that from the 90s, like there was this don't blow thing. And, I think in the past that may have worked 30 years ago. In my experience, though, it's not very helpful. The only thing that's helpful for you is getting an extra 90 days on top of the suspension you're going to get later, which I'll get into that in a moment. So you're gonna, if you refuse it, you're going to get that 90 days. Okay. And right now, I'm pretty much speaking on first offense DUIs. Second offense and third offenses, you're kind of a pro at that point. I'll touch on that a bit. But so let's say you take the test and you blow over a .08 and you get charged with a DUI. Now, you're eligible on your first offense for non-adjudication. And what that means is that you go and you do all the stuff that you're ordered to do by the court. And if you successfully complete all that stuff and you pay your fines on time and you attend the MASAP classes, you'll get an order of non-adjudication, then you'll be able to expunge it. So this is a first-time thing that you can do. And it's not always automatic. It's sometimes if you blow a .20, I've seen it where the judge is not going to do it. Or if you got into a minor vehicle wreck, I've seen that where they're not going to do it. So there are situations where it doesn't happen. But a lot of times, if you cooperate with law enforcement and it's your first offense, you can get a non-adjudication, which is a great thing. And they didn't change that. That's kind of newer. Well, I say newer. It happened around 2015, I believe. They changed the law for that so that you're eligible for that. If you have already had one of those, though, and you're back to a first offense, then there are penalties to that. So the penalties are up to 48 hours in jail, and the fines are between $250 and $1,000. You're also going to get a 120-day license suspension. It's 120 days when your license is suspended. Now, if you do the non-adjudication, or even if you don't, you can get what's called an interlock device, where you go to a local place around here and you you get it installed. There's a million different locations, and if you hire me, I can tell you which ones to go to, and they'll install it. You got to pay a fee, like I think it's like a daily fee, and they charge you monthly for putting that interlock on, and you'll have that on for 120 days on your car. Where basically interlock is when you blow into this machine. You've probably seen it on the movies or TV. You're going to blow into it, and it's going to start your car. And for that, so you're eligible for that with whether you get the non-adjudication or not. It's up to you whether you do it. I know a lot of people. Sometimes I have people come to me. They're like, I don't want to pay the money for it, and so they choose not to do it and take the license suspension. Then I have other people that are definitely want to do it because, of course, it's a work and they want to be able to drive. So it's an easier way for you to be able to still continue to drive when you have that 120-day suspension that you're going to get automatically once you're convicted. There is also something else, kind of nuances in this that you need to know if you don't retain a lawyer. So if you get pulled over, the cop's going to take your license and charge you with a DUI. He's going to take your license and he's going to give you a receipt, which is valid for 30 days. And that's a receipt so you can drive. Well, you have to ask the court for what's called a license extension. And that will give you an extension to drive up until your court date. Now, if the court denies that, or if you delay that court date, try to continue it too much without a lawyer, or it's your lawyer's fault. I've seen this happen where you'll get the DPS will give you another 90-day suspension administratively before you're even convicted. So you got to think about that. That can happen too. So make sure you follow the guidelines right, because you can easily get yourself to which you're going to get the 120-day suspension. You can fall into another 90-day suspension just based on not getting the license extension. So you want to look into that. That's an issue with some people sometimes. And that's not talking about the breath test refusal suspension. So here's assuming that you did take the breath test, and that's what happens. But that is some things that just easier things I want to discuss about that, where there's a lot of confusion about the breath test and when whether you should or should not take that. And I mean, it's really up to you. I generally seen where it's better to take it so you don't have another 90-day suspension on top of your 120-day suspension. And sometimes people think that those like merge or they run concurrent. They do not. They run consecutively. So you're going to get both. You're going to get both a 90-day suspension and a 120-day suspension of your license if you refuse the breath test. So, remember that's what 210 days total without your license. And you can also, though, and a lot of people don't know this, and I've seen some courts where they don't know it, and I've had to show them portions of the law where you're also eligible for interlock on that 90-day breath test refusal. So if you get a lawyer, they can help you get the interlock on that breath test refusal, assuming that you just decide not to blow and you think that's going to help your case because maybe you were saying that the cops did not have probable cause to pull you over. You weren't speeding, or you didn't swerve, or you weren't committing careless driving or reckless driving, or whatever you want to say. Then you decide not to blow and you think that's going to help your case. You're still eligible for an interlock device on that 90-day suspension. So keep that in mind. So that is another avenue you can take if you don't want to blow. Again, this is up to you. And but if you do blow, you're not going to get that 90-day suspension. I just do want to remind you, though, to ask for the driver's license extension once you're actually charged with the DUI, so you can drive up until court. So those things to remember. And this, most of the time, y'all, just to be honest, that I've seen, it's very difficult to get out of a DUI. A lot of lawyers are gonna tell you things that we can do this, we can do that. The way technology has changed, it's just not that easy. It's not that easy a thing. There's so many things that Toxalizer is generally right. You're gonna get the DUI. It's just one of those. It's very, very difficult to get out of it. And you got to think about these local cities and counties. They make a lot of money off this stuff. It's a money maker. I have so many clients going to be like, God, I paid so many. I paid lawyer fees, and I paid for fines, and I paid for the class, and then all these things. Yeah, and it sucks. It really sucks. That's why I'm saying take an Uber. I used to go out drinking quite a bit in my youth, and not that I'll still occasionally, but you can ask like Lindsay if you watch our show. Like, I am a stickler about an Uber because that the consequences are far-reaching. Not to mention, you also are going to have insurance consequences with your SR22 insurance, which is called high-risk insurance, that you're going to have to get when you're convicted of this. And so that's something you want to keep in mind too. Now, if you get a non-adjudication, you can avoid that. So that's a good thing as well. But these are these things to keep in mind. And this weekend is just, everybody knows you're going to be out on the reservoir, you're going to be drinking, you're going to be partying. You're not Vin Diesel. You're not going to outrun the cops. It's not going to happen. They're going to get you, and they're out waiting. They're pissed off because they're having to work on this weekend, which is supposed to be fun for everybody. I mean, you know how that is when you're working, everybody else is drinking, and you're upset about that. That's the way they are. So they're going to pull you over, and they're going to give you the DUI because they know that they know what you're doing. They know you're at, some bar at 2 in the morning or wherever. So just call the Uber, and if you don't, you can reach out to me at onetextlaw.com, and I'll walk you through the process. Every holiday weekend, I give this message, and there are people that don't listen to it, and they get a DUI and they call me, and I walk them through, and it's not, it's not a painless process financially. That's the hard part, but I can make it less scary for you, so you understand what's going to happen and what the consequences are of all that. So remember, again, on the first offense, you can be punishable up to 48 hours in jail. Fines are between 250 and $1,000. You're going to get a 120-day license suspension. You're required to attend classes like what's called MASAP, which is an alcohol class, and a victim impact panel, things like that. You might have to go to court watch, depends on the city or the county, what they're going to want to do. So you're going to be out a lot of money if you don't call that $40 Uber ride. You really are. And you got to pay me too, which, hey, look, I like that. I mean, I enjoy that. But it's not good for you. So just to keep you aware, that may be something you want to think about before you leave the bar this weekend or the barbecue, or whatever you're going to do. If you've already been an experienced drinker, if you're a guy that's already got one of these, and remember, you can get a second if you've had a DUI within the last 5 years. A second offense DUI is what it's called. So if you get another DUI after you've got that first, whether it's been non-adjudicated or not, it doesn't matter. You can get a second offense DUI, and the jail time on that is a minimum of 5 days to 6 months. Now, they can't suspend that. They used to back in the older days. Sometimes they get around it and they can suspend those 5 days, but I haven't. It says it's a minimum 5 days. So you're going to go to jail for 5 days. That's been my experience lately. 20 years ago when I first started practicing law, there's ways to get around that. I don't see that much anymore. So it's something to be aware that if you're out, you've already had a DUI, you're going to go drinking within the last 5 years, you're going to get you spend a few days in jail, which sucks. I mean, it does suck. So just know that. Don't get mad at your lawyer when that happens, because it's nothing they can do. Also, your license is going to be suspended for 2 years. So remember that. You can get an interlock for that, but I think it's after like 45 days they'll let you do that. So it'll be suspended for 2 years. You've got that. And, you're going to suffer all the insurance consequences and all the things I talked about, going back through those classes that you've already been through before, because this is a second offense and you know the drill. Now, if you got a third offense, that bumps it up to a felony. If you get a third DUI within 5 years, you're looking at prison time between 1 and 5 years. The minimum is 1 year. Now, when I was a prosecutor, we used to put people on house arrest for that. So you can do that a lot of times. You'll serve a year on house arrest, depending on the county, what they want to do and what the facts and circumstances of your case were. So, but if you decide, okay, now I've already got a first offense, now I got a second offense, now I keep on drinking. At this point, by the way, you need treatment. I mean, if you're sitting there with you're worried about getting a third offense DUI within the last 5 years, that's bad. So just remind that. And also, there's a new part of law in 2015. They changed all this, where if you get a fourth offense DUI over your lifetime, you're looking at a minimum of 2 years in prison. So that doesn't matter whether in the 5-year timeline, you're looking at whether you had 4 DUIs in your lifetime, you are going to jail for a minimum of 2 years. And just so think about those things. And, generally I deal with people that are on their first offense DUIs. There are people with second offenses that don't learn their lesson, unfortunately, but because the consequences get far more severe the more you go. Now, I assume if you already had a DUI, you're probably going to be smarter, I hope, than to drink on 4th of July weekend. I mean, if you've already had a DUI in the last 5 years and you come to my office with that, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to do the best I can for you. But I think you're already going to know that you messed up, and these are the consequences of those actions. And because you've been through the process before, and you know that this is one of the most highly regulated weekends of the year. This weekend, Memorial Day, I did one of these messages on Thanksgiving weekend. These are the weekends the police, they want to up their numbers. They get you. They're pissed off because they're not drinking. I mean, so at home and a barbecue, they're just mad. So, again, call that Uber. But remember, those are the things that are going to happen. Most likely, most of you have not had a DUI before. And if you get pulled over, I'm just trying to lay that out for you. You have, again, I'll go back through it. You'll get pulled over. If they're going to charge you with a DUI, they'll give you an option to take the intoxilizer test. If you refuse that, you'll get automatic 90-day suspension, which is before you ever get convicted of anything. It's an administrative penalty that's in the statute. You either say you're going to blow and you won't get that. If you refuse it, which is your right to do, you're going to get that. Now, you can contest that civilly. It's not successful all the time. Sometimes it is, and it's not. I'd say mostly it's not. Then you can also get an interlock for that 90 days. A lot of people don't know that you can do that, but it's in the statute. You're allowed to get an interlock device for that 90-day breath test refusal suspension. Now, once you go to court and let's say you're convicted, you're gonna get up to 48 hours in jail. A lot of times you can get that suspended, up to $1,000 fine. You're gonna get automatic 120-day suspension of your license. You can do an interlock for that as well. And you're going to go to MASAP and victim impact panel, possibly court watch and those things. So you're going to be out several $1,000s when this thing is over. And if you don't get it non-adjudicated, your insurance is going to go up because you're going to have to get SR22 insurance. So just remember all those things when you're out there hitting the next Vegas bomb this weekend, that those things are possible. Keep the Uber app on. Please do that. Remember, my website's www.onetextlaw.com. Again, that's www.onetextlaw.com. I will be around all weekend. So if you need me to answer some questions for you after you get a DUI, I'll be glad to help. I hope you called that Uber. I also have a bondsman. I recommend Emily Anderson at Liberty Bail Bonds. She will be around working this weekend. I'm sure she's going to be very busy because people are not going to take my advice. They're not going to call the Uber. So anything, if you got any questions, reach out to me here on Facebook. I'd love to answer them for you. And if you need some legal help this weekend, reach out to me again at onetextlaw.com or 601-862-1320. I'll be around to help you out. And if there's anything else, I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe 4th of July. Call the Uber before you have to call me.